today I'll be taking you on a trip to Paris, and today we will be making Madeleines. The recipe I'll be using is from Sally's Baking Addiction. I've made many of her other recipes, none of them for videos, but I still really enjoyed them, so let's go ahead and get started. For our Madeleines, we're going to need 1 stick of butter. We're also going to need 2 large eggs, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of lemon zest, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and for the dry ingredients, we're going to need 1 cup of sifted all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and we're also going to need 1/8 teaspoon of salt. The first step is going to be to beat our sugar and eggs on high with a little handheld mixer for 8 minutes. Alright, our mixture is now done, so we're going to go ahead and add our lemon zest. And we're also going to add our vanilla extract. And we're just going to go ahead and beat this all in again. Now we're going to go ahead and whisk our dry ingredients together. Now we're going to go ahead and fold in half of our flour mixture into our wet ingredients. Now we're going to fold in the second half of our dry mixture. Now we're going to stir in 1/4 cup of butter into our batter. And there we go, our batter is mixed. I just transferred our batter to a smaller bowl and I covered it in plastic wrap, and now we're just going to let it chill in the refrigerator for around 30 to 60 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and brush our Madeleine mold with melted butter. Now we're going to scoop a tablespoon of our batter and put it in our Madeleine mold. And now we're just going to repeat this process. Now we're going to go ahead and bake our Madeleines in a 350-degree oven for around 11 to 12 minutes. Now we're taking the Madeleines out of the oven because they should be done baking, and we're going to go ahead and check it. To check our Madeleines, they should spring back when lightly touched. And they feel very bouncy and springy, so it looks like they're done. Now we're going to go ahead and flip these onto a baking tray. And there we go, they came out pretty easily. So now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to transfer our Madeleines to a wire rack to cool. Now that our Madeleines have cooled slightly, we're going to dust them with powdered sugar. Let's go ahead and give our Madeleine a taste. I'm super excited. Wow, that was one amazing Madeleine. I really enjoyed it. It was very buttery, very soft, and very delicate, and had a really strong and nice lemon flavor. It didn't overwhelm the other flavors though, and it matched it very well. I really enjoyed it. Although I would say it's not as good as the Madeleines I had in Paris, I would still say it's very good, so I'd have to give it an 8.5 out of 10, so it's definitely something I recommend making. Now I'm going to share with you some stories from my trip to Paris in 2019. The first story is about how I went on a food and wine tour in the Montmartre district of Paris. You might be thinking, wait, I just said food and wine tour. That's right, it was a food and wine tour, and we toured around Paris, and we got some different foods and wines. However, don't worry, I didn't try any of the wine. One of the main highlights on the tour for me is we went to this place and it was called Les Chopettes, and they had chopettes, and it almost reminded me of a cream puff, but it was a lot different as well. It was sort of like a cream puff style of pastry, but it was a lot more flavorful and crumbly than a cream puff. Cream puff is usually more kind of bland in my opinion, and it was very delicious. And honestly, the chopette I had then is probably still one of the best pastries I've had to this day. One of the other things I really enjoyed on a tour was we stopped at this one Madeleines shop, and they were very delicious. They were a lot more fluffy than mine, and they were also a lot more flavorful. The one I had orange glaze on it, and it was very delicious. The next story is about how I almost got stranded in Paris. The story begins after dinner. We were craving something sweet, so we decided to head to Brett's Cafe to get some crepes. When we got inside the cafe, we noticed this couple with their dog, and we decided to make some small talk with them, and we found out that they were American expats. And the really cool thing was they also had their 14-year-old Pomeranian dog, and it was just sitting in their lap. And I thought that was really cool because normally here in the US, you can't take your dog inside of restaurants, but apparently you can in Paris. We had a lot of fun talking to them. In fact, maybe even too much fun because time flew by way too quick. What felt like a half an hour to me ended up being maybe 2 to 3 hours, and it was so late in fact that the crepe shop was closing down. And at that point, I knew it was late, so I decided we needed to get back to our Airbnb, so I just hopped on Google Maps, and I looked up the route back to our Airbnb, and honestly, I wasn't too worried about it. I thought, oh, there's probably plenty of trains running, we shouldn't have a problem, it should go smoothly as a piece of cake. Once we got to the station, that's when things started to get crazy. When we got to the station, it was closed. That's right, it was closed, it was all barred up. All the exits were shut off, all the lights were off, and I was kind of confused. I thought, that's really weird. I had literally just gone to that same station like a few hours before, so I thought, I guess they must have closed off for the night, so I just walked to the next station over. When we got to the next train station, I was really worried because I looked at my phone, and apparently Google Maps told us to take a train line that was apparently done for the night. So we talked to the station master there, and he told us that we really had to hurry because we had 10 minutes to make the final train back to our Airbnb, but the reason it was a problem is because it was probably going to take like 15 minutes to get to the train that we needed to get to according to Google Maps. After we finished talking to the station master, we waited for the train, and luckily it arrived within a minute or so, and then we took it to the next station. After talking to the station master, we waited around a minute for the train, and then we took it 2 stops. When we got to the next station, we were still a little worried because it only had been a couple of minutes, but like I said, we only had like 10 minutes to get to the next station. So we ran out of the station and we emerged in this really, really sketchy neighborhood of Paris. When I glanced down at my phone, I was really worried because it said it would be a 5-minute walk. And I thought, that is a really long time considering that we only had 10 minutes, and I was like, this is not looking good. We are gonna miss the train, and then we're gonna be stranded in this really sketchy area of Paris. Now some of you may be wondering, what is so sketchy about Paris? I thought Paris is very nice and very clean. Well, maybe not clean, but certainly not super sketchy, like I had just said. But it was a very dirty area of Paris. It was a lot older, it was very run down, and there was a lot of homeless, so I thought this isn't the safest place to be traveling, especially when there's not much street light, and it was very, very dark outside. Eventually we made it to the next station, and I was totally relieved to be out of that sketchy neighborhood. Again, we had to take the train 2 stops, and then we arrived at the main station that we needed to get to. When we got off the train, I remembered that we were really worried because we only had 3 minutes. That's right, we only had 3 minutes to catch the train, and I looked down at my phone, and I was like, oh my god, this station is huge. It must have been as big as Grand Central. Okay, maybe not that big, but a little bit smaller, and we had to walk all the way across the station. That's right, all the way across, so I was really panicked. So we ran out of the train, we literally sprinted through the station, and then, here's the worst part, we got stopped at one section of the station, and they weren't letting anyone through, and I was like, oh my god, we need to get through or we're gonna miss our train. And you might be thinking to yourself the whole time, well, that's not so bad, what's so bad about missing the train? You can just wait, I mean, it might take a little while, but you can just wait. But no, it was the last train out of Paris, so we were really worried when we got stopped at this security checkpoint. There was also a decent number of people that were trying to catch the same train as us, so everyone was feeling very stressed. Luckily, security was super fast, and all they had to do was check our ticket. And eventually we sprinted through, and then we were almost there. And then I glanced down at my phone, and I was like, thank God, we only have a few more feet to go. So I ran down the escalator leading down, and then I looked up at the board, and I was like, yes, the train is gonna arrive in 2 minutes. Eventually 2 minutes passed, and then I was getting really worried because the train was still not there, and the board showed that it should be there right now, and I was getting really worried, and then I went back upstairs to the station to go ahead and check the other board. And when I checked the board, I was so relieved, yet kind of stressed at the same way, because it said that the train was going to be arriving in 10 more minutes. That's right, 10 minutes, so we did not need to rush after all. And that, my friends, is the story of how I almost got stranded in Paris. Anyways guys, make sure if you enjoyed the video to like, and most importantly, subscribe, because I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in the next one.